What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to you with another video. We're going to talk about Chris Paul signing that 4-year, $106 million deal to stay with the Houston Rockets, a team that was one win away from being in the NBA Finals. Whew, that's a lot to say. And the fact that that Cleveland team wasn't that good. They had a chance if they would have won one of those games. Even if Chris Paul wasn't healthy, they had gaps in that schedule where he can come back healthy because they didn't play every day or every couple days. They took 2 games off. 2 days off, 3 days off, and stuff like that. So if they would have just been able to win one fourth quarter, they potentially would be NBA champions. And it's crazy to come that close to fall short. Whew, that's tough to do. And as a person watching, I knew it was hard for the Rockets fans to see it at the end of the day. And that's the sad part because you look at a team like that, um, one game away from winning, we're basically one fourth quarter away. They was able to go up huge in those games and then slip away in the fourth quarter and lose it. And you'd be like, man, what happened if they would have stayed healthy? What happened if Chris Paul never got injured? Steve Kerr even said if Andre Iguodala would have stayed healthy, they wouldn't even have win the game 6. They wouldn't even win the game 7 if Iguodala was healthy throughout the series. Well, it could be true. I know the Rockets fans biased, but if you really look at it, it might be true. If they would have had Iguodala, they probably would have won quicker. Um, but we would never know. Let's move on to now. Chris Paul is a guy that got injured a lot this year. And even if you look at his years with the Clippers, he missed a lot of games. Even if you look at his career with the Pelicans, he missed a lot of games. And then the scary part is he missed some games. Remember with Portland versus the Clippers, Blake Griffin went out. Chris Paul went out. This year, Chris Paul went out when it mattered most in the Western Conference Finals. He couldn't even play. And you're committing 160, not 10 million, 20 million, 160 million to a 33-year-old that has an injury history. One of the best elite players in the league. I still, to this day, have Chris Paul in my top 10 because what he brings is an all-NBA defensive player while still being an all-NBA offensive player because of his ability not to turn over the ball, control the games. If you just go back and look at Game 4, you go back and look at Game 5, you go back and look at Game 6, having the ball in Chris Paul's hands slowed down the Rockets, gave them smarter shots. He used the pick and roll to get easy baskets, not just for himself, but for Trevor Ariza, but for PJ Tucker. They got easier shots because Chris Paul wasn't trying to make the home run play. He wasn't trying to knock down these tough threes. He wasn't trying to force the issue. He read and react and had them up 3-2. That's how great Chris Paul is. He's going to give you effort and energy, and he's going to play and work and demand excellence from his teammates and from himself. And I like him for that. And those are things that you can't just find. Those are things that you can't teach. If you want to win, if you want to be great, certain players have it and want it. And that's something that you just can't sign. That's something that you just can't say, I'm about to go get this guy. So the player has to have these things that have to want to be great. You have to want to. There's no player like Chris Paul, is what I'm saying, especially efficient wise. So he takes smart shots, gets you the best shots, and he doesn't turn the basketball over. That's efficient offense. But he also can play in the passing lanes. He can pick your pocket. And if you dribble too much, he's going to steal it anyway. And he can command defensive anchor basically from the perimeter. He can tell you where everybody's going to go. He knows all the plays. So these are things that it makes sense of why you will want Chris Paul. He's a franchise guy. Even though he's old, he makes that big of a difference. Like I said, he really does. But the injuries are just so huge because it's the time of the injuries. I don't mind him getting injured in a regular season because James Harden can carry you to 50 wins. He's been able to do that for majority of his career in Houston. He either got you close or at 50, especially with the talent they have now. The teams with Omer Asik and Jeremy Lin, they wasn't that good. The team that Daryl Morey has been able to assemble around James Harden. Even if you look at last year, they won 55 games without another All-Star. So he can get you 50 wins. They won 60 this year, and Chris Paul missed a lot of games this year, and it didn't really matter because they were the number one seed in the West anyway. And, they have that much talent. So I don't really mind him getting injured in the regular season. I prefer, and I hope he don't, because I am a fan, and you don't want to see injuries because they make the player decline. But it ain't end all be all. But one thing I would definitely say is it's those Clippers, and this year is those injuries where you need him to be healthy so you can win a championship. Wherever LeBron goes, and Boston's getting better, Philly's getting better, at the end of the day, it's going to be harder to win a championship. And committing as much money that you committed to James Harden already. Not only James Harden, but Chris Paul now. You don't really have that much room for error, especially if you bring back Capella. If you bring back Capella with this roster, what it looks like they're going to do, you don't have really that much room for error against the Warriors. And we done seen it. Once Houston started missing, once they started turning the ball over, they went home. So you don't really have that much trial for error in the Western Conference. So even even the East becoming more top heavy, especially if LeBron leaves. So you're not gonna against a Brad Stevens, you're not gonna have those advantages because he's gonna find weaknesses. He's gonna pick you apart, and he has stars on that roster. So if they want to win a championship, Chris Paul is an integral part of what they need and what they need to do. And he is one of the best decision makers, offensively or defensively, in the league. You need him healthy if you're going to commit this much money. And it's really a what if at this point. We don't know, is he going to be healthy? You can say that about any player in the league. But every season, it seems like Chris Paul is missing so many games. So that's the scary part that we all know. This ain't hidden. This ain't something I'm saying something mind-blowing. But those injuries are tough when you're committing this type of money, because now if you bring back Capella, you don't really have nobody else that you can get. You have to get rid of Eric Gordon, who's been very good for them and won Sixth Man of the Year from last year. And he's another ball handler and another guy that can get off to create a shot off the dribble and hit those spot up threes. Maybe get rid of Ryan Anderson. You don't utilize him as much as you want to, but who wants that contract? And even if you do, you have to give up some assets just to get rid of it. You still got to bring back that Trevor Ariza or somebody to take his role. That's going to cost cash. It is. And even if you can't bring back Ariza, it's either you're going to bring back somebody better. Wait, Paul George is gone. Robert Covington is locked up now. So you don't have really that many 3-and-D guys. You can say Bahamute, but he's inconsistent. And he can't really do anything besides shoot threes. Other than that, he's a worse version, like I just said, of Trevor Ariza. So at the end of the day, this is a risky move by Daryl Morey, betting and a lot of money in Chris Paul. He is one of the top 10 players in the league still, but that health concern is really scary. And that's the pill that you have to take. I'm willing to take a chance with Chris Paul because we was one game away from winning the championship, because I think they would have beat the Cavaliers anyway, but he was one game away from being an NBA champion. And you can't really take that with a grain of salt. I tell you that all the time, because the Wizards missed the playoffs before. Detroit 2 years ago, they up and coming. They haven't made the playoffs since. So it's not really a guarantee that Chris Paul can get you back to the Western Conference and give you a chance to win. If you get there, you have a chance to win, but you're going against the Warriors. You're going against these other teams. And you still have an East that's getting better at the top. So it's not going to be easy. And you're going to need him to be healthy if you're going to make this type of commitment, which he hasn't been able to do it even when he got an extension with the Clippers. They never even went to the Western Conference Finals. So that's just something to remind you guys. Everybody said the Clippers will find it out. They'll figure it out. They'll get there. They never went to the Western Conference Finals at all. So that just lets you know that it's no guarantee. Just because you was one game, that's this year. It's not a guarantee you get back to the Western Conference Finals next year. And it's not a guarantee that you, even if you get there, which they should, that you're going to win it this year. So just keep that in mind and being real with yourself and being real. Don't take the bias out, take the fan of it out, and just be real. It's not a guarantee you're going to get back to the Western Conference Finals, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to win it if you do get there, because they lost it still this year regardless. And that's the sad part. That's the scary part. But If they're going to run it back, this is a talented team. This is a hard team to cover. This is a team that gels well. They fit well, and guys know they role and doesn't try to do anything more than that, which is good when you have two superstars and role players that fit perfectly around them, and you have versatile lineups to either go small or even go big, and you have teams and players that's willing to take pay cuts, and people like trading with Daryl Morey in general. And the fact that he got two-way players still on his roster, and Capella continues to get better, and he's a guy that knows his role, but he has acceded in his role and have continued to grow. And he's a player that can be an X factor in certain series. And if you can lock him up, that means you are what you are at this point. This is the team that you have going into the next couple years, unless you can make another move or wait till Ryan Anderson come off the books. Then you have space to get somebody else, and even Eric Gordon will be coming off the books that year too. So you have to find a way to pit plug those pieces around Harden and Chris Paul if he stays the whole 4 years. So be real. It's not a guarantee y'all going back to the Western Conference Finals. It's not a guarantee y'all going to win it if y'all do get there. So we don't even know the whole Warriors team until the end of this free agency. We don't know how this Rockets team going to look by the end of free agency. So keep an open mind, be patient, and going into the season, the Rockets are one of the best teams in the league. They are one of the top 5 teams in the league as constructed. And even if they don't make a move and bring the whole team back, they're going to be one of the best teams again, because this team is unguardable. And this team is a two-way team, but it's not a guarantee they can beat the Warriors if they get another shot. It's a whole new slate, a whole new series, and it's going to be different parts and pieces around them. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get back. It's going to be interesting to see if they can win the championship. And at the end of the day, if you're a Rockets fan, you happy, but it's also a cause for concern. So I'm trying to be real as much as I can while still giving you guys what you need to know about this pickup. Chris Paul is one of the best players ever, one of the best point guards ever, and the only thing missing on his resume is a championship. And he's given 4-year commitment to the Rockets so far. And this is the furthest he ever went. James Harden is an MVP. He's one of the best players in the league. And at the end of the day, having them two are a dynamic duo and one of the top 3 backcourts in the league. So you have something to be proud of. But still, the goal is to beat the Warriors. And we still got to see where LeBron is going to go. So until we find out the rest of this information, still be open-minded and still be realistic that this team might not win a championship still. Check out my website, NasirPlayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Check out my Facebook page at NasirPlayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. Quinn Wade Basketball Nasir, I'm gone. And let me know if you think this is a good pickup. Do you think they should let him go? Do you think they should have got cheaper? Do you think they'll make it back to the finals? Do you think that they won't even beat the Warriors anyway? Or do you think like Steve Kerr, if Iguodala was healthy, we wouldn't even win 7. We would have won quicker. Whatever you think, let me know in the comment section below. And I'm gone.